The perceptual set is a lot like top-down processing. It essentially operates according to the principles of top-down processing, and that is simply that we have a set of expectations, and those expectations oftentimes dictate what we perceive. So for people who claim to see a floating log as instead of a log, they may perceive it as the Loch Ness Monster. Well, if you have an expectation that there may be a strange creature in the water, you're more likely to perceive something like that as a Loch Ness Monster, as opposed to a log or something. Yeah, this perceptual phenomenon also explains a variety of other atypical kinds of perceptions. When people see UFOs, for example, they're perceiving various objects to be unidentified flying objects, perhaps. And maybe some of them are unidentified flying objects, but sometimes people are perceiving lights from a jet or an airplane late at night in the dark sky as something unusual. So this is also, again, why we tended to perceive this paragraph in a certain way, because of our previous experiences with words and our expectations. They have a big effect on our ability to read that, perceive that pretty clearly. It's another example of perceptual sets and top-down processing. In the first line, most everyone reads that as the cat, even though the second letter in the first word and the second letter in the second word have the exact same shape. We perceive one as the letter H and the other as the letter A, due to our previous experiences and expectations. Most people don't read that as tie cat or the. I don't even know how you would pronounce that. Same with the second one, which most people read that as red, as opposed to PFD or PFB. We have those expectations that guide our perceptions. Take a minute to read that. Most people don't realize that the word the appears twice in a row there. We don't really expect that, and we tend to kind of breeze right over that, not even notice that. Another thing that has a big influence on our perceptions are the context effects. So the context of an event or a situation can have a big impact on how we perceive things. So you see the picture on your screen of the tennis player. Is he happy or angry? How would you perceive that? Well, it kind of depends on the context. If we're watching the match and maybe the line judge calls his shot out of bounds and he thought it was in bounds, then we would perceive that as anger. On the other hand, if he just made an amazing shot and won the match, we would probably perceive that very same emotional expression differently, as one of happiness or joy. There are lots of things in life that depend on the context. Is spanking an appropriate form of discipline? Well, your answer to this would probably depend a lot on a variety of factors or different contexts. I've listed several of them on the screen that you can read, but this is one of the reasons why the cultural context is important for the study of human behavior, because oftentimes what we consider to be normal or abnormal depends on the culture we live in. So in some cultures, spanking is really frowned upon, and that would be seen as something really almost brutal to treat a child that way. In other cultures, spanking is much more common and appropriate. So a lot of that just depends on our culture, maybe even your religious beliefs, what type of transgression the child engaged in to deserve punishment. There's all kinds of contextual features to consider. This is an example of something that may depend on the context. What do you see in this picture? Most people have a really difficult time seeing anything. Perhaps it'd help if I told you that it would be something you would find on a farm. If I put it in that context, some students can see it. Maybe I could be a little more specific. Do you see the cow? Now you have a context, kind of an expectation of what to look for, and you may find it easier to see. Alright, I'm going to reveal the answer now, so you can pause the video if you don't want to see the answer. There's the cow looking directly at you. Alright, and that pretty much sums up the major points in this chapter. Again, make sure you follow the study guide so you don't miss anything, but also so you're not studying a bunch of stuff that you don't need to study. And we'll see you in the next module.